Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
Hello and welcome. We are Del and Debi's Mind, Body, Soul, the home of invigorating talk on all things to do with health and well-being. And I am Del A.D. Jones, and I'm one of your co-hosts. Well, actually, I'm actually the only host, and I'm a certified transformational coach and a 3 principles teacher and practitioner. I help my clients achieve healthy psychological well-being so they can live a more inspired, joyful, peaceful life regardless of their external circumstances. So as I said, today I am the only host you have because my co-host Debi is in the hot seat. She is going to be interviewed today on everything that she does. So I'm just going to give you a little brief introduction to what Debi, her title and what she does. So as well as being our very special guest, she's also my friend and my co-host, as I mentioned. And in addition to being my better half on the show, Debi's also a wonderful mother and a certified integration nutrition health coach, a personal trainer, a fitness instructor with over 24 years experience working in the health and wellness industry. Debi is known for helping her clients explore concerns specific to their bodies and then leads them to discover the tools that they need to achieve a lifetime of health and balance. Debi also works with groups doing workshops, teleclasses, and talks. She motivates and inspires participants to own their wellness, encouraging them to lead happier, healthier lives. Welcome, Debi, and thank you so much for letting me pick your brains today because I have tons of questions.
Thank you, Del. Thank you. Yeah, hi, everybody. Thank you for that great introduction. We threw a line out to our audience, and we asked them to ask health and wellness questions today and throw me in the hot seat. And we actually got people to respond. And they went on to our Instagram and they went on to our Facebook page. But we're also asking them to call in today, too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
let's give them the number.
Yeah, that would be great.
So, again, where's my number here? I have to find it. It's okay, I've got it. So the call-in number is 323-284-7826. And also, as Debi mentioned, we're taking questions on our Facebook page. We've got tons of questions here, though, too. So
which we'll probably end up answering one of yours. But we do want to hear from you. So call in at any point. Just interrupt us because we like having the banter, the conversation back and forth with our audience. So, and even if you have a comment about an answer to a question, when you don't have a question, just call in with a comment. So there we go.
Wonderful. So, do you want to give a little bit about your background? We're not going to take too much time there because people already sort of know you. We've met you before.
Yes.
But I know it has a relevance as to what you do today. So let's start at the beginning.
It does. It does have a little bit of relevance in the fact that, I grew up out here. I grew up in L.A., and by the way, a disclaimer, my dog is making circles around me right now. Yeah. So if you hear a little jiggling, it's her collar.
Yeah, it's not Christmas.
Yeah,
it's those
or
jingle
a bark.
bells.
She'll bark if somebody makes a funny move. Okay, so I grew up here, and we're in Hollywood where we tape the show or film the show. And I grew up right here. I was born and raised right down the street. Then became a San Fernando Valley girl, then became a San Diego girl where I graduated from college with a degree in theater and acting. And I followed my college sweetheart back to L.A. He subsequently got into the film industry in the commercial television end, and I actually got a job as a receptionist in that end and worked my way into becoming a producer over a period of years. And up until about 6 years ago, I was still producing TV commercials. But all along, I had a passion.
Exactly.
And the passion stemmed from the family that I grew up in. And the family that I grew up in were battling all kinds of challenges health-wise. both cancers, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, weight problems.
Now, were both your parents overweight?
No, my mom fluctuated. My mom had more of a substance abuse problem. My father was a happy-go-lucky, jolly guy who ended up in his 30s coming down with Hodgkin's disease. And he didn't change his lifestyle. And that was a really key factor for me in watching. I was 5 when he was in his 30s, and he died at 46. He died. So I was.
young.
He was young. I was young. I have siblings. They were young to lose their parent, and my father had remarried recently, even though he was sick when he remarried. He was literally on the path to starting a new life in his 40s.
Now, was this Hodgkin's lymphoma? So it was a cancer?
It was a cancer.
And they thought it was to do with his poor health?
Well, he was a heavy smoker, a heavy drinker, and
So
he enjoyed his
yeah.
food.
Yeah.
And I grew up in that situation. My mom was a smoker, she was a drinker, and she also abused prescription drugs. I saw this growing up, and I had a little sister that was born with type 1 diabetes.
Oh, wow. I
So,
didn't know that.
yeah. So she's been peddling that since she was 7 years old. And so I watched these things, and then I watched peripheral family. My aunt died of breast cancer by the time she was 60, and that was her second round. And I saw heart disease with my grandparents, stomach cancers, all kinds of things. And it got me on the road to thinking, I wonder if this has to do with how you take care of yourself,
Absolutely.
but self-care, which is so important.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand it completely. I was young. I was working. I was in school looking for, guys and career and that kind of thing. And I kind of deviated. But I always had this passion. So when the Jane Fonda era came around.
Yeah. Oh, God, I remember that so well.
Remember those string things that went up? What did they call those?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, when that came
the
around.
exercises were amazing.
They were great. Yeah. And what's really interesting, that was sort of a side hustle for her because she had a passion for health and wellness. And she was trying to raise money for charities that she was involved in. And there's a great documentary right now on HBO on Jane Fonda, endorsed by her. She's in it. And it talks about she was trying to think of a way to make money to fund these projects that she was doing for all of her social charities that she was funding. And so she sort of started the whole video craze. But I fell into it. I lived here.
Exactly.
I went to her studio. I fell into it, and I became
probably
addicted.
bumped into each other then.
We probably bumped into each other in a lot of different walks of life until we finally smashed our faces together and said we belong together. So anyway, I ended up becoming sort of an exercise maven. And then when you do that, you get offered things. So one of the gyms I was working at offered if I wanted a spin craze started wanting to be a spin teacher. I went and got certified. I've been a spin teacher nonstop for the past 24 years.
Wow. So spin has been around that long?
Before that, too,
Incredible.
And it was part of it I got into because I had bad knees from the other sports I was playing. I was a big tennis player, and my knees went quickly, and I was a runner when I wasn't playing tennis, and I wasn't paying attention to the prevention stuff, which I am much more aware of now and able to help my clients with. And so I ended up becoming a spin instructor, personal trainer, and it was a total side hustle all the time while raising a family and also having being a producer, having a producing career.
But when you're passionate about anything, as we said, that's just, you say it's a side hustle. It was just something that you were driven to do.
And I was getting paid for
well,
it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and also,
lovely.
Given your background and seeing how much, damage people were doing to themselves by drinking, smoking, ignoring their diet and its environment and stress and all those other factors. But clearly it was a passion of yours to not end up in the same position.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with processed food. Obviously, my parents didn't pay attention, nor was it the era to pay attention. It was the time when fast food was coming in, McDonald's was all the craze.
We were too poor for fast food. I was so,
Yeah, I know.
felt so deprived.
Well, good for you because you had a better start than I did. So I was a processed kid. I call myself the processed, childhood. And
you have
everything,
TV
it was
dinners
like
and things like
TV
that?
dinners, Twinkies, high sugary cereals. There was only on Sundays was there home cooking, and that's because my father would make a big pot of spaghetti sauce, and then we would have, but we were still eating these carbs, and I don't remember green things, and I don't remember fresh things. So when I went off to college, I had control of my life suddenly, and all those things that I saw growing up took me into the realm of number one, I wanted to look good. I wasn't, I was a fat teenager. I kind of had this puffy face from all the sugar. I was over sugared. I was overamped. And so when I went to college, I was like, hey, I want to have a boyfriend. I want to get the college experience and have all that fun. And, I want to feel good about myself. Not just the way I look, but I physically want to feel good. I want to be clear-headed, clear-eyed. I want my hair not to fall out. So I started eating off the salad bars.
I was just going to say, did you experience any of that before you went on this health kick in college? Were you?
I was foggy. I had a foggy
Really?
brain. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I was
And
foggy.
you were aware of that?
I was aware when the fog lifted. I wasn't aware of the fog when it was there.
'Cause it's the
It's kind
norm.
of funny. Yeah, it was norm.
The fish in water, you don't know
Right.
you're in water.
It's kind of like when you get contact lenses, you don't realize that you couldn't see before.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't see that I wasn't living, a life where I was actually healthy, that I was
Yeah.
actually clear-headed, that I was,
functioning
feeling fine.
optimally.
Yeah,
You
my
couldn't-
hair falling out, had a lot of hair, so I always thought, oh, that's normal.
Wow.
But now that I know better, I know it isn't normal. It had to do with the self-care and the way I was taking care of myself.
That's fascinating.
So I started playing tennis in college. I started eating off of salad bars in college. I dropped I didn't want to have the 15, freshman 15. I went the other way, and I had the freshman 15 on the way down,
wow, that's
which was
great.
good. And it made me feel good. It made me look good. It did attract the things I wanted, and I was able to get through college clear-headed. And then it just stayed with me. This
Yeah.
whole time it stayed with me. And then from building my career through my spin career and the personal training career, the next natural step, when my marriage ended 7 years ago, and I was working with my ex-husband and producing all those commercials, a lot of those contacts ended for me as well. And that wasn't a passion of mine as much as the health and wellness was.
Exactly.
So actually kind of bumping into you and other things helped me realize I could go continue my education and really work on the nutrition. And now I am becoming much wiser. I'm in a class all about hormones and balancing and how they dictate everything. And that's going to be another show, but we're going to talk about that extensively.
Yeah. So, just to clarify what this show is going to be about, we ask for questions. So some of the most commonly asked questions that people that you come across in your practice, in your clients and things like that. So you just let me know when I start firing these questions at you.
Yeah, no, we should. It's just, I realized what changing lifestyle could do for me. So it was a given that it could do it for anybody.
Absolutely.
And then I went back to school and I got my nutrition certifications to become a health coach, and through a great institution called the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And I took their advanced courses, and now I am in the hormone course, and I am learning tons. And by February, I'll have that certification. And when people ask me this list of questions that we've been gathering in the last 24 hours or so, I'm going to have some great answers for them, and not that I already don't, but it's just it's a world of confusion right now.
I was just going to say that we're about the same age, so I mean we've watched it all. It's the low fat, high, whole grains, and then it's the Atkins. No, I mean I remember a friend of mine who lost an incredible amount of weight, but she was eating nothing but meat. And her one piece of vegetable she allowed herself was literally one broccoli floret a day.
That's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. And number one, I just couldn't do that. It's just my body just can't take that much. But I'm just saying the fads, the waves of everything. People are confused now. They don't know
And
What?
that's so true. And I think that's why it's so important that people realize that that they're individuals. Everybody's an individual, and what's right for you isn't right for me. What's
Exactly.
right for Kurt isn't right for you or me. We all process food differently. We all have different lifestyles. We all have different genetics and the way things metabolize and go through our bodies. So what works for one may not work for another. So I call that bio-individuality.
Yeah. And you know what I've noticed for myself, revealing everything here, but for the last 10 years, every time I kept reading, more protein at every meal. You've got to have protein. It satisfies you. It's for muscles. It's for this. I gained 10 pounds. Because I just
Didn't work
kept
for you.
thinking, I have to have protein at every meal.
Yeah.
And when I started going back to mostly vegetables and fruits and things, which is what my body craves and which I love, and not having to put protein at every meal, I just started to drop it again. And
Yeah.
I thought it was part of getting older because, heading into 60, I just thought, oh, God, those, extra 10 pounds in my 50s were due to that. And it's not. I just was consuming way too much protein for my body.
You were, and
Yeah.
and sometimes it's a weeding out process. You have to feel it out, especially when there are food sensitivities that can cause you to carry weight and cause you or to have stomach problems. You got to kind of do eliminations to figure out what is working and isn't working. And that's, as a health coach, that's what I do with clients, and especially on my one-on-one clients, because we can really delineate and eliminate and get through and figure out, okay, this did work, this didn't work. And I'm talking fruits and vegetables too.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
are some things that work better for some people. Lectins for some people
I was just about
don't
to say,
work,
There's this whole new thing about lectins.
Lectins,
Exactly.
yes.
What is it? The accidental.
It's well, there's a cookbook
Yeah.
called The Plant Paradox.
Exactly, the
Yeah.
plant paradox. Yeah,
By
the
Dr.
other-
Stephen Gundry.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting book because I do have it, and I do, once again, it's not one size fits all,
exactly.
but I do recommend when I see a client having trouble with, and they tell me the certain fruits and vegetables they're eating, and I realize they're some kind of
Well, just
seed-based.
as
and
we're on
within-
this subject, what are those? Because I also
so
have the book.
lectins are they're actually a protein.
Yeah.
And they're found in plant-based foods that have seeds, and pits and things, not pits, but seeds. And so they can attack our cells in a negative way and have us, it can cause bloating, it can cause irritation, it can cause, just feelings of fatigue, things like that. Like when you're eating certain grains and stuff, you can get,
So what?
they're
Just
like
name a few
foggy.
of those.
Well,
tomatoes.
the squashes,
Okay.
tomatoes, eggplants.
all my favorites.
Some of those. And it's not to say that you can't eat them. What I like to do is mostly make people aware of what you feel like when you eat them. And we'll talk a little bit about, paying attention and being, what's the word I'm looking for? Being,
What is that word?
Mindful
mindful.
eating.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things. When you pay attention to how you feel after you eat certain foods, this food makes me feel good. This food makes me feel irritated. You'll know where you want to eliminate or
Yeah.
eat less of.
I was just going to say, so I know you said some foods with seeds in, and you gave us some examples: tomatoes, eggplant, things like that. Now, is it the actual seeds itself, or is it the skin? Because I also heard that if you peel eggplant, it's not as
I'm not so sure about
confusing.
that. I have to admit I don't know that answer. But I do recommend Dr. Stephen Gundry's book.
I have it on the shelf with all my others.
Yeah, me too. And I do
doing the
use his.
shortcut.
I do use, and I know we have a question today about what greens to eat and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I actually, what is that question on
me
there
have a
about the
look.
greens? Because
The
I
greens,
use
the
one
greens.
of the
Oh, I got one.
recipes from
Okay.
Dr. Gundry.
Okay, so Emily asked, what kind of leafy greens should I be eating? What are some ways I can incorporate them into my diet?
Okay. That's a good question, Emily. Thank you for asking that. All right. So this is what I do in the mornings because I am a personal trainer. I am a health coach. I'm up and out early. I walk my dog. I get in my car and off I go to gyms and people's homes. And what I do is I make this green drink with dark leafy greens. So this is one of the things I suggest to my clients and when I talk to people that I really think is a good suggestion is that you get a NutriBullet type appliance.
Yeah.
I think there's Mix Max, and there's
Yeah,
other things. They're called other things too.
like Vitamix.
Vitamix, yeah. I have a NutriBullet, and it's just a one-stop shop. You know, you put everything in the glass, and and then I pour it into a thermos. But this particular Dr. Gundry's recipe that he suggests is a great morning pick-me-up. Has sort of everything you need to get your day going. And sometimes I make it in the middle of the day. So what it is romaine lettuce. And I use the dark leafy greens, but you don't have to. You can use like hearts of romaine. I use a handful of spinach. There's mint in it. There's about 4 tablespoons or so of lemon juice. There is a half an avocado in it, and I'm really big on avocado.
Yeah,
It's one of
me
the best
too.
fats, as long as you know that you can tolerate it. And there's a cup of cold water. I put some ice in it, and that's it. And I take the whole thing, and I blend it in my NutriBullet, and then I add a little bit of stevia, and I blend it again.
So it's
And
sweet. You sweeten it a little?
I sweeten it a little bit. And he does suggest that you can or don't have to.
Yeah.
But remember, I usually use more lemon juice than the recipe calls for, so it's a little bit bitter. So I just offset that. But the
Okay.
mint makes it great.
Yeah.
There's a great way to deal with dark leafy greens because you can throw them in a NutriBullet and you're not going to get that like fibrous.
No,
You're going to
exactly.
get the smooth cream. And when you put an avocado with that, and
Makes
then
it
you add,
creamy.
you have
Love
a
that.
nice luscious. I think if we can throw up, I think there's a picture that I actually took of my green drink. And anyway, it looks good.
Yeah.
It tastes good, and the nutrition value is huge.
You know what I do too? I always I buy the mixed greens already. So it's got baby kale, baby chard, and baby spinach in it. So it's not too fibrous, and it's really delicious, and it's not overly strong. And I put that in everything. If I'm making a soup, I just pack it with that. All of my blended drinks, all of my smoothies, anything with eggs.
That's great because I think a big deal is what do you do with greens? How many ways can you cook them? Well, there's a lot of ways to
millions
cook
ways.
them.
Yeah.
You can saute them, you can steam them, you can boil them, you can blanch them, you can eat them raw. And there's a lot of things that you can add to them to make them appealing and other flavors that they're not just you're just eating raw greens.
Yeah, I just add them to everything. I do it the other way around.
Smart.
Instead of it's so, like I said, even like I make a nice big fat frittata, vegetable frittata with tons of the mixed baby greens in it too, and peppers and onions and mushrooms, and just have a big like 3 inches, and I keep it in my fridge, and you just take a little wedge off, and it lasts for about 4 days.
It's a great
just-
suggestion. The nutrition benefits from that are huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Are
It's
huge.
just pure vegetables and some egg. And
That's
again,
right.
if you don't want too much of the whole egg, I maybe do 2 eggs and then add a couple of extra egg whites instead of it all being. 4
Yeah,
eggs.
I mean, whatever, again, it's bio-individual.
Yeah.
Whatever you could tolerate. Some people like yolks or don't like yolks. You don't have to
exactly.
worry about the whole fat thing when it comes to yolks because that was another one of those silly little things that came along that said that, that the yolk
know.
of an egg will cause blockage and heart disease
Yeah.
and stuff. And that's not true. I mean,
Yeah.
anything can cause anything if you overdo it, but it just is, it was one of those fad things and those things
exactly.
that go
I mean,
around.
there were all those bodybuilders that were eating like 10 egg white omelets every morning and nothing else.
Yeah, and that these things work, but they're not necessarily sustainable. We're talking lifestyle.
No,
That's what I
exactly.
help my clients achieve. For instance, I have a health coaching client that I've been working with for the past several months, and they come to me with a goal, and her goal was I'd like to lose maybe 10 pounds, up to 10 pounds. She didn't really need to lose weight. She looked good. She's in her 60s, so it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
This is a hormonal thing. As we start to drop, our metabolism slows. As our age goes up, everything slows down and kind of drops. But so we have to compensate. So I worked with her on her bio-individuality, on what she liked and didn't like. We talked about mindful eating a lot, about the fact that she socialized a lot. She had a great social life, which is part of what I call primary foods, all the things that feed us in life,
Yeah.
in addition to the food on our plate, are very important because our food on our plate reflect the other things in life that fuel us.
Yeah.
If those things are out of balance, the food on our plate are going to represent that.
Well, exactly. So what you're saying is to incorporate a healthy eating pattern into a life where you have, activities and go out for dinner, and
Exercise,
friends
social
and-
life,
Yeah.
spiritual life, wherever and however form that may come in. You should have a home environment that you like. You should be cooking at home, or at least being mindful of what you're eating if you're not at home. Like, what is the source of your food, and where's that coming from, and how's it cooked, and what's it cooked with, and ingredients, whether they're organic or not. And it doesn't mean you have to eat organic 100% of the time. But when you're mindful and aware, you're going to go geared towards that, and you're going to see, again, the way you feel and the way you look, that difference between what is in your food, the source of your food, and what is, and what's healthy and what isn't healthy, you're going to feel.
Yeah.
It's going to show up
And
in
as
a
you
lot
say,
of ways.
Exactly. And as you say, to enjoy your food, not to get to the point where everything is a should or a must and it becomes hard work and then you want to rebel against it. It's
Exactly.
experiment, find out
And
what
that's
works.
the other thing, because I think food is love. We've talked about this before, the ritual of a meal, of cooking, of eating, of being around a table with family and friends for celebrations, or even just for a quick little, get-together with a few friends, or the girls' night out. That's love. So part of the way you continue with that is what you're putting in your body. So one of the things I worked with this particular client on, because she does do a lot of socializing, was to be mindful of what she was ordering instead of just grazing through, all the small plates, or if she was at a buffet or something
Do you have
like
a tip?
that.
I mean, because I know we use the word mindful, but some people are confused by what mindful means.
Well-
and then they also sort of so-called lose their mind when they're faced with all this sort of a buffet of things. So do you have any tips to prepare somebody for that?
Yeah, so I would say the best thing to do is to be present, and which isn't as easy, in what you do with your clients. That's a very difficult thing to get across. But to stop and take a breath and look at what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And then make some informed decisions, knowing what works for you, what's good for you. If it's processed food, and when we talk about processed food, we're talking fried, we're talking anything that has additives or unnatural ingredients. So food in its rawest, most pure form is what we want to be eating. So
Or at least,
take a look
or at
at
least
what's in front
ingredients
of you.
you can read.
That's right.
Yeah.
So take a look at what's in front of you and think, how is this going to settle afterwards? Because think about it. Food goes through us. We the only thing we get is the looking at it and sort of the salivating over it. Then we eat it, but then it's got to go do all this other stuff. So it could either wreak havoc and cause, I think there's a picture, Kurt, that can go up. There's a picture of healthy food and a skinny body, and then processed food and a body
I
that
love
just
that
looks like
picture.
because really, once the food's inside, and if it doesn't know where to go or how to, take care of, giving you the vitamins and minerals and nutrients you need, what's it going to do? It's going to stick around.
Yeah,
It's
and it
going to cause, that's where disease comes
Yeah.
in. That's where getting fat comes in, and hanging on to that extra weight becomes a catalyst for disease down the line, and it's accumulative. So first thing to do is be mindful. So you need to stop a minute, take a breath, and take a look at what you're eating. And the other way to be mindful is to really taste your food. So when you put whatever it is you're eating in your mouth, don't just swallow
No,
it.
exactly, because that's the beginning of the
digestive
system, anyways, to chew your food.
It's the best way to get the vitamins and minerals and
Exactly.
nutrients that you can get
Yeah.
from the food.
and
that way.
prolong the flavor, so you don't have to keep repeating it by
And
having
to
another mouthful.
satiate yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to become a vacuum cleaner, you're not going to get full. So you're going to
Exactly.
overeat. And there is a rule of thumb sort of about, and again, these are generalized because we're so bio-individual, but about portion control. So portion control, so the protein shouldn't be bigger than the size of the palm of your hand. The carbohydrates, good carbohydrates, vegetables, let's say we're talking dinner or lunch right now, should be when you make a fist. So like double that. So that's almost double that. Then the good fats, and we're talking good fats now, are the size of when you go like this, like your finger across your fingers. So that's a good fat. Now,
Oh, wow.
I know
That's a lot of fat.
Well, but it's good fat.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know,
so
but
it's
still.
good. So think of an avocado. That's not that much.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Now,
So
well, okay, so it's that bit.
that bit, this bit for protein, and this,
and the whole
I double that. The whole fist,
fist
I
for
double that if I'm making a salad
Sure.
or vegetables
At
or
least,
something.
yes, yeah.
So
Now, one other question, because again, I think that when you're at home and you're planning your meals and things like that, you have far more. It's calmer. It's more controlled. You have things. But when people go to these, say, like you say, a restaurant or a buffet or something, and all of this food is sitting facing them, there was a school of thought for a while that don't go hungry. Have a bowl of soup or consommé or something,
true.
or a cup of tea, something to sort of, so that you don't go in there ravenous and you're like, oh my God, everything's out the window. I'm just going to, I haven't eaten, so therefore I can have everything here.
It's like FOMO when you go to a buffet. It's like you have fear of missing out the taste of something if you don't try everything, and I think that's a misnomer, and it's and again, it's being conscientious about saying ahead of time, I'm going to go for what I like, and I don't need 3 servings of what I like, and I can try. I like lots of little tastes. It is a little harder on our body the more varieties of food your body's trying to process.
Digest,
yes. But, how often are you at a buffet? So you do want to enjoy. We don't want to take the enjoyment
But just
out
go
of eating.
down on the portion size a bit.
Yes.
Just
And if you
tiny
want to
tastes.
go, there's a whole big thing about calories in and calories out. Really, I don't work with calories. I work more with nutrition and portion size. And some people are more numbers oriented and they want to know, but there are good calories and there are bad calories, and they can be the same amount. And this fist could be really horrible for you, and this fist is everything that's good for you.
Exactly.
So you are adding calories when you're, off a buffet. So you really have to think about those numbers. Even if it's healthy, too much is too much of anything.
And I always think also just don't go back for seconds, just because that's when you get lost on how much you've really
Again,
eaten.
FOMO.
Yeah, exactly.
Your fear of missing out.
Well, but if you have it all on one plate the first time, you really know what you've eaten. But when you eat that and then you go back and have half a plate and then another half a plate or something, it can just get out of control.
It does. And there's also a thing, I think, because I've really put some mind into this, where you think if something's kind of like one-shot deal price-wise, and everybody likes a good deal. I'm getting a deal, so I have to eat it. I have to. This is one shot. It's, I just got to fill my plate because I can't take it with me, so I got to put it in me. Well, you're going to pay that. There's payback for that later down the line. So, but, I do also have that 80-20 premise.
I love this one.
Where 20% of the time, if 80% of the time you're really eating mindfully and good and all the things we've been talking about so far, then that other 20%, some people go 90-10%, go ahead and give yourself a break.
Yeah.
And so that one day you're going to feel full and you will have overeaten, and then you're just going to get back right on track the next day.
Or I know we've talked about this before, but there's sort of the 80-20. I mean, certain things go into that 20, whether it's like a glass of wine or it's
a piece of cake,
or a bit of a
ice
dessert
cream,
or something. I mean, you so it's really just be very aware of that, as well, that you can have a slight treat every now and again.
That's right.
But
you just can't live your life that way.
Exactly. Every
because
day.
You're going to pay the price later.
Totally.
And really, it does, I don't think anybody's exempt from a really unhealthy lifestyle. You're chiseling years off your life or giving yourself, or you're going to live a different kind of life.
Yeah.
It's not going to be quality. And my whole premise is always longevity with quality. Because you can have longevity, but the quality is to me, paramount.
Sure.
Because I want to run after my great-grandchildren. I've been saying that since I was 16.
I mean, who wants to live a long life, an unhealthy life, or bedridden, or in pain, or things like that?
People don't think ahead like that.
No, I know. Well, they do when you get to our age.
Yeah, I know. And when you hit 60, it all changes.
But before I go on,
we want to get these
Chrissy,
questions
I was just
in.
about to say, let's get to Chrissy.
Yeah.
She asked a question.
Hi, Chrissy. I hope you're listening.
Yes. So, can you share some? Can you share some healthy but quick snack ideas? And is breakfast really the most important meal of the day?
Okay, so that's a two-part question. So let's start with the breakfast. Let's do the second part first. So yes and no. So, we did do a show on intermittent fasting where we talked about not eating breakfast and going in and doing your exercise first and then not eating until the middle of the day and that kind of thing. Lifestyle dictates that. So that's going to be my main answer. But now the reason why it's called breakfast is it means break the fast.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. And it means you're breaking the fast from the night before, from when you were sleeping. So, if you've had a good 10 hours between the last time you ate, and I suggest to my clients, especially if they want to feel better and lose weight, that they should have 5 hours between their last meal and when they go to bed. So right there, your fasting starts. Then you go to bed. Then you have your, let's say, 8 hours.
Let's just calculate that for a minute.
So it would be like 13 hours.
Well, no, but you're saying like if somebody goes to bed at 10 o'clock, then they shouldn't eat after 5 o'clock.
Well, you should try to have a 5 hour. If you want to let your food settle and digest, you should be between the time you stop eating and the time you go to bed. That's why, I noticed during the college years of my kids, a lot of their friends were putting on weight because they were partying and then eating after and then going to bed and then feeling like crap. And their hangover wasn't only from alcohol. It was from food.
Yeah.
It was from their body trying
fast
to...
food they
exactly.
The drive-thrus.
Which was hopefully soaking up the alcohol.
Yeah.
That's a vicious little cycle.
Yeah.
And I know you got to go through certain stages in life, so I'm not going to
exactly.
deny you that. But do know why that's happening.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is if you do that, and there's leadway in that as well. And again, each body is going to handle it different. When you wake up in the morning, chances are you are going to be hungry. Now it depends on where you're off to and what you're going to do. The green drink I described earlier, maybe an hour or so after you've been awake is a great thing. I take it on the road with me. So I don't exercise until the middle or end of the day unless I'm teaching a class first thing in the morning. So then I don't eat anything until an hour after I've taught. I only drink water. But if I'm not going to exercise, then I drink this green drink or I eat some healthy some fruit. When I say healthy, I just try not. I eat mostly berries and apples in the morning, the less sugary fruit.
Sure.
And which is a great time to eat it, by the way, because it metabolizes better. And anyway, so it really depends. That answer depends on lifestyle. If you're going right off to work, wait an hour after you wake up and eat something healthy. If you're going to start eating heavy carbs and sugar, then you're going to get into a slump later in the day. And that's not the best way to start your day off because once again, you've kind of cleared out your digestive tract. So you're kind of giving yourself a clean slate if you've done that fasting.
Yeah. And then, as you say, especially the fruits, because that gets digested so fast, so it's not sitting around heavy in
If
the
you
stomach.
eat just fruit in the morning, you're going to realize that, it's almost like drinking a very tall glass of water. It's going to go right through you, but you are going to retain the nutrients and vitamins and minerals you get from those fruits. So that's my answer for that. Be aware of what you do, and the answer is breakfast is important. It just depends. If you're going to go off and exercise, I would wait.
Yeah. I was just going to say, 'cause, I mean, break fast doesn't mean it has to happen at 7 or 8 in the morning. It could be whenever. Mine tends to be around midday to about 12:30.
Yeah.
If I'm exercising.
And that's a bio-individual thing for you, and it works for you.
you, yeah.
I'm not sure I would suggest that for everybody because they might get lightheaded.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of hours because you go to bed early and then you wait to eat. So you have a long, but you're doing sort of the intermittent fasting thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I learned more about and, recently. And so it works. It does work, and our bodies do respond very well to it.
Yeah.
So
what about Chrissy's, the other half of her question, about some healthy quick snacks?
Yeah. So
and does it matter what type of snacks you have in the morning compared to the afternoon or early evening?
Again, it depends on now also, what you've already eaten that day. So my suggestion is the first and foremost thing is stay away from sugary snacks. So you need to read labels if something's coming from a package. I always suggest whole unprocessed food for snacks in the afternoon. And the other thing that I eat are raw organic nuts. I actually have them with me because we're doing a couple of shows today and I want to make sure, that I have snacks with me. They satiate. They're good fats. They're good protein. So I'm sort of getting the whole thing in a one. And again, I'm not going to go more than probably palm size total. So nuts, nut butters. Nut butters, sometimes I put almond, what do you call it? Almond butter on organic apple slice and have a couple of slices of that. If you do dairy, I do goat and sheep have because they don't have lactose. Yeah. And that's usually the thing that causes us to be lactose intolerant. And they're casein free for the most part. So I look and again try to find the organic, least processed cheese that I can find. And no dyes, none of that.
And I just have to mention, because I don't like goat cheese, but
in any form. Any type of goat cheese.
Well, what I was going to say, which is so amazing these days, you can get goat brie now. You can get goat cheddar.
That's what
you
I was
can
gonna
get
say.
you get goat everything that you can't even taste the goat cheese in
if you search that out, and again, I really should. All right, they should endorse our show, but
Exactly.
Trader Joe's carries a lot of
know.
this stuff, and it's a lot cheaper than some of the other health food stores. So there you go. There's another tip of mine. But so a slice of cheese and an apple, a slice of cheese with some nuts, with some cheese over. Sometimes I take lettuce cups, and I put protein in that. So whatever, if there's leftover chicken or if I have leftover salmon, I make a salmon salad with a little bit of healthy mayonnaise, and I put that scoop inside, let's say endive or the hearts of romaine, and I make a little sandwich out of it.
I love doing
and
that
that's
too.
a great pick me up in the middle of the day,
And also,
instead of a let me down, you know.
And also those vegetable wraps that you use.
Yeah. There's some. Now these are a little bit on the pricey side, but because you can't get them at Trader Joe's. But some of the health food markets, and then Whole Foods being the biggest one, carry these veggie wraps that are made. They grind up vegetables in their purest form, and that's all they are. There's a couple of they come in turmeric, and there are a couple of other ingredients in there, but you can soften them up by putting them in a pan just with no oil, and then make them like a burrito, anything that you want. Put some healthy protein, put some lettuce in there, put some avocado, roll it up, drizzle whatever you want, olive oil, roll it up, cut it up, make that, and you've got a really healthy,
well, those are
amazing. A healthy wrap. Yeah.
Okay, so I've got another question here. And this one comes from Lisa.
Okay.
And she asks, what can we do about low energy every afternoon around 4 o'clock?
Well, we just kind of we answered that.
Yeah. And are there any exercises or snacks to keep your energy back up until dinner? Again, we did these snacks, but it also, I just want to say this, it's not just what you eat to overcome that lag in the afternoon. You can avoid the lag in the afternoon if you're eating the correct foods earlier.
That's exactly my point. Yeah. So the reason why Lisa is getting or she sees people around her getting the 4 o'clock lulls and they want to fall asleep at their desk or whatever task they're doing is because of what they've eaten earlier in the day. And sleep is very important.
Exactly.
And I think we actually have a sleep question.
Yeah, we're going to come to that in a minute.
If you haven't slept the night before, you are going to find a lag in the middle of the day. And you can do one of two things. I like naps. So a quick nap in the middle of the day will bring you back up. It doesn't have to be in the form of food, or eat a healthy snack. The other thing is, a high intensity interval thing isn't going to hurt you. So if you're in an office environment, that might be a little difficult. But if you're at home and you're a stay-at-home mom, or you work out of your house, get up and do some jumping jacks. Do some knee highs. Do some, I call them butt kickers, where you run and kick yourself in the butt, just standing in place. And you throw your arms out and in, and you're kicking yourself in the butt. Just get the blood pumping any way, shape you can. It will be an instant pick-me-up. And
I've got another one too.
Yeah.
What about doing the plank behind your desk? That way you're not jumping looking like a lunatic in the office.
You can. That's not going to, you can. Doing plank, it's more of a core.
But it can get your heart rate if you hold it after 2 minutes.
Any kind of energy you're putting into something that holds your body in place is to getting your heart rate up.
I want to be very aware of the time, so we're going to get one more quick question in.
Okay.
Ellen asked, what is the best way to go to sleep at night and stay asleep?
Okay.
The three, eating eating 5 hours before was definitely
That's
one of them. Yeah.
So digestion is important. So if you've eaten an hour or so before you're trying to go to bed, you're going to have a harder time getting to bed, number one. Number two, create a ritual for yourself. So I suggest at least an hour before you go to bed is that you turn off your electronics. So take your phone and put that aside. Take, no blue light.
I was just going to
Take
say,
things
we did
away.
the blue light
Yeah,
show.
we had a show on that, which I also suggest our YouTube channel. There's a whole show on what you should do to sleep better. But just initially, again, we're getting back to mindfulness, is paying attention to calming down. Start doing things. Lower lights in your house. Put yourself in a relaxed mode. Get your comfy pajamas on. Take a warm bath, even a warm shower, maybe an hour before you go to bed. Have some kind of ritual that will help you wind down. And then, for some people, I've heard TV puts them to sleep. For most people, it stimulates them. So if you know the thing,
especially if you're watching the news,
you should end. I try to end my caffeine by 3:00. I know you end earlier, but
I end at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Again, it's a bio-individual thing. So if you can drink caffeine and still fall asleep, that's one thing. Alcohol. Be mindful of alcohol, sugar, and caffeine when you're eating it and when you're stopping it.
Because
those
I
things
noticed
are going
with
to keep you
alcohol,
awake.
Exactly. Alcohol will make you sleepy, but you will wake up 3 hours later.
That's right.
So
your body is trying to process it.
Exactly.
So,
what
the
about,
other thing is that you should have some kind of I just lost my train of thought when you were talking about alcohol with sleep, is that you should if you're stressing about something, that you could use, I use an app called Insight Timer, INSIGHT Timer. It's a free app that you can download. And there are all these sleep meditations, anywhere from 2 minutes to almost an hour. Just if you need to, lie down, put yourself in a meditative state, and then put some headsets in if you have a partner, or if not, you don't need them. And listen, it will lull you. You need to calm down. You need to take some deep breaths and calm down to get to sleep.
Now, there was also a time when they suggested, like, you have eat a certain thing before going to sleep, like a little bit of protein or I remember when mothers used to be like, have
Warm
milk or something like that.
Yeah.
So you
I don't
still
suggest it.
I was just about to say, you still think that any type of putting anything in your body late at the 5 hours.
I agree. I believe universally that's the best way to do it. But again, if you realize you've had a ritual that you've been doing that actually works, then go for it.
Yeah.
The only thing I see, and I've helped a lot of people get off of sleeping aids.
Oh, yeah.
And in both natural and not natural, because who knows what natural means? There's no regulations on that. So if you could just be tired enough because your body clock, your circadian rhythm is let you work out that this is your body's time to wind down, and you go with that. If you fight that, you're not going to be able to sleep.
I want to add something onto this, so the sleep thing. What about exercise? Some people can't exercise in the morning. They exercise after work. Does that tend to
rev you up. It does rev you up.
Okay.
But it's also better than not exercising at all, because it's the main thing is, diet and exercise are diet, exercise, and sleep. Those three most important things on self-care and how we take care of ourselves. So don't eliminate the exercise, but then have a ritual on how you wind yourself down after that. I think that's very, very important.
Well, this has been, we needed 4 hours for all of these questions.
There's some quick rapid fire things I could hit on in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, why don't you do that? But I just want to make sure you also do your website and let anybody know
how
to contact you. So you take it from here.
Okay, so
the drill.
So I want to talk about we talked about mindful eating, and we talked about how much we should eat, but what crowding out and fitting in is. Because a lot of people go, oh yeah, a lot easier said than done. But you can actually start right now by bringing in healthy, non-processed food. into the things that you've been eating and you've been used to. You can crowd out the bad things with the healthy things. It is a process. It isn't, these fad diets really upset me because they're very sudden to change. And when you try to change suddenly, you're going to probably fail. And people lose weight very quickly, but guess what? It comes back and then some.
And some more,
so
exactly.
crowd out. Don't worry about fitting in. If all your friends are eating all the appetizers that are fried and not good for you, and you feel like, oh, I got to do it because everybody's doing it. Well, I like to fit out. I like to be the healthy one and feel better and be able to sleep and get up in the morning and feel good. So don't worry about fitting in. And how we eat is how we live. That's just a little saying I have. So think about everything else you're doing in life. And if you're frantic about the way you drive, if you're frantic with your finances, if you're frantic with the way your house is being kept or the way your car is, then chances are you're going to be frantic with the way you're taking care of yourself and your food. So really think about combining those two to be a healthier, better, you are what matters. Yeah. Take care of you first, and then everything else will fall into place.
Just stop and listen.
That's right. And home cook. I really suggest home cooking. I work on that with my clients. And be aware of labels.
Is there a cookbook coming one day, Debbie?
Well, yes, probably there will be. But first, there's a book on longevity and quality, and that's going to hopefully be out in 2018.
Wonderful.
2019. So I'm working on that. But I want to invite everybody to go to my website because it really gives you details on who I am, what I am about, and what the whole health coaching process is. It's fitbydesignla.com. And it's pretty comprehensive there. And there's also a link that takes you right to Del and Mai's YouTube channel. We are celebrating 2 years together.
Yay.
We have well over 100 shows, and they're on everything that helps you live your best life. So I really highly recommend that you try to be part of, you try to find a subject that resonates with you and become part of our show.
That would be wonderful. Well, that was great, Debbie. Thank you so much. I know I monopolized. I had so many questions myself.
I know. It's like there's just never enough time.
Exactly, and that really is. I mean, we're all. I think I'm very, very aware of health and well-being and fitness, but I'm confused. I mean, it is a confusing time.
I want to try to. So we do invite you to go to the Facebook page. Under comments, if you have a question for me, I will answer it right there on the Facebook page because we are all confused.
Yes.
And that's the reason why we're doing this show. I'm trying to shed light on the confusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
that was wonderful. I feel a lot clearer now.
Oh, good. I'm glad I helped you. And I hope I helped everybody out there too. Thank you, Dal, for having me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Please join us again next week.
We have a great show next week.
Well,
we have a cast of musicians coming on, a very famous one. So come, join us next week.
Yes. Have a wonderful week. And thank you so much for joining us and for participating and asking all your questions for Debbie on this show. We will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye-bye.